You might be surprised to learn that you can perform statistical analysis on words, on documents. And if you think about it, the government produces a lot of documents, text of speeches, texts of bills and ordinances, council minutes, all sorts of things. For example, here I have the full text of all weekly addresses delivered by President Barack Obama between now and November 2012, when President Obama won re-election. I got these from the whitehouse.gov website, by the way. If you go there, you can find all of these transcripts and more. Now, if I had a way of counting up how often each word in this series of documents occurs, and then sorting those counts from highest to lowest, I would begin to get an idea of what words the president has been most and least likely to mention during this series of addresses. And from that, I could probably begin to infer what themes the president has stressed most often and least often in these addresses. Now, there is, of course, no substitute for actually reading the text of the documents. That's what you really need to do as a reporter. But this kind of analysis can at least give you an idea of where to look, and maybe give you an idea of how to summarize those themes for your audience. So let's look at how we might do that. Here's the text. Just scroll down real quick. You can see that there's quite a bit of information here. And there are lots of tools that could count up the words in this text and give you some kind of a report. One of the best ones, is the freely available Yoshikoder software. It's downloadable for free from this website. There's both a Mac and a PC version. In this video, I'll use the PC version because it has some functionality that the Mac version does not have, and I would recommend that you use the PC version as well. You can download it by coming to this website and clicking the Downloads link right here, and then choosing the latest version link. That'll take you to a SourceForge page. You'll have to sit through a little commercial here, but sooner rather than later, a little download link will pop up. There it is right there. Just click Save File, and then save the file somewhere onto your computer or onto a flash drive if you prefer. It's a single file, that Yoshikoder 0.6.4.exe in this case. Just double click on that file and the program will open. You might get a warning about your system not quite recognizing the developer of this software or something like that. That's okay. Go ahead and open it anyway. If you don't want to use the download link that pops up here, you can also use this direct link right here. Just right click and then choose Save Link As. At least that's how it works in my web browser. And then you'd be able to download to wherever you want to store the file to on your computer. So that's how to get the file downloaded and opened. Once you've done that, the file will look like this. It's totally blank. There's nothing in here yet. Step one is to get the text that you want to analyze into Yoshikoder so that you can do something with it. To do that, you click the document link and then add documents and browse to where the file is. Mine's on the desktop. And there it is, the Obama Weekly Radio Addresses, November 2012 through April 2013. Notice that the text that you're going to analyze has to be in plain text format. You can't do this with a Microsoft Word formatted file, something with a doc or a docx extension. You can't do this with PDFs. It has to be plain, low level, just DOS or ASCII text. Okay, so I'm going to highlight it and then choose Open, or I could double click on it. And there you see that Yoshikoder's brought the document in. We have a link to it over here on the right. We're looking at a segment of the document in the center panel, and we're ready to go. Now, sometimes when you do this kind of a task, you have a particular theme in mind and you want to know how often that theme or words representing that theme occurred. You can certainly take that approach, and I'll show you in a moment how to do that. But another way to approach it is to be more open-ended, to ask Yoshikoder to tell us what are the words that are most often mentioned in this collection of documents. And the easy way to do that is to click Report right here and count words and choose Current Document. It's going to perform this task on whatever document we have highlighted over there in the Documents area. When I click that, you can see I get something that looks kind of like a spreadsheet, and it shows me the word in the first column, how often that word appeared, and the proportion, or the percentage, of all words that word's frequency counts represents. So it starts with the numbers, of course, and then we start with the A's and then the B's and so forth. It's by default organized alphabetically by the word. You can change this, though. If I double-click on the top of the count column, for example, then it sorts those words from the most frequently uttered words to the least frequently uttered words. And as you might expect, all of the linking words and the articles like a, an, and the, and so forth, those are the most common words. And you have to scroll down a little bit, but fairly quickly, I can see, for example, economy. That happens 53 times in the series of documents, and that would indicate that economy is a fairly common theme in these addresses. What else do we see? There's gun, 26 mentions, and I think let's see. I think jobs is in here as well. Oh, there it is. Jobs mentioned 63 times. So those are some fairly common themes, and in fact we're going to look at each of those three themes here in just a minute, a little more in depth. But that's a quick way to get an idea of what the most common themes are right off the bat, without really knowing anything ahead of time or going into the analysis with any assumptions or anything. By the way, this report looks like a spreadsheet. You can, in fact, copy this into a spreadsheet. You just highlight all of the information like this, drag down till you get to the bottom, right-click, and, well, actually, you can't right-click. Control-C on your keyboard will do it. And then you could switch over to Microsoft Excel, hit Control-V or paste, and you would have the data there. But it's kind of nice that in the actual interface you can do this sorting thing that you see here just by double-clicking on the top of any column. Okay, so let me close that report out. Now let's look at how to examine in a little more depth those three themes that we identified by just running that report: economy, jobs, and guns. Let's start with economy. Now, what I want to tell Yoshikoder to do here is to search the document for any form of the word economy. And if you think about it, there are quite a number of forms. There's economy, there's economies, there's economic, economics. Any of those words would indicate that something is being said about the economy. And you could even broaden it a bit to talk about other aspects of the economy, but for this fairly simple illustration, let's stick with just a very narrow definition of words that would indicate that the economy is being talked about. I can set these up by coming over here to the left pane, the dictionary pane, and I can right-click on that heading there and tell Yoshikoder to add a category. This is like a category of words or terms. So let's make that economy, to indicate that this category is going to encompass all words that indicate something about the economy. And then I can right-click on the category I just created and choose Add Pattern. And this is what I do to specify specific patterns that I want Yoshikoder to look for in count. Now, I could type all of the individual versions of economy that I mentioned: economy, economies, economics, and so forth. Or there's a shortcut. If I type ECONOM and then an asterisk right there, then that's going to pick up all words that have ECONOM as kind of their root. The asterisk acts like a wild card. It stands for a Y for economy, a YS for economies, or a IES for economies, ICS for economics. All of those words will be picked up with this pattern. So once I've done that, I can click OK. And now, if I click on the little plus sign that came up there, you can see that pattern is now in the economy category. Let's go ahead and do another one. We're also going to look at jobs, right? So I'm going to click Add Category, and let's call this Jobs. And then right-click and add the pattern jobs, Jobs. I could just go with job, but then, having done this a couple of times before making the video, you pick up a job in other contexts, like good job, or let's get the job done, or something like that. Jobs, the plural, is, at least in this document, tends to be specifically about adding jobs to the economy, or somehow increasing the number of jobs. Okay, so we'll click OK. And there you can see that we have the jobs pattern in the jobs category. And there was one more we were going to look at. How about guns? This one can be a little bit more complicated. I'm going to add the category for guns. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. Excuse me. Let me just delete that. Remove entry. And I should have put it up here. And add category. And call it guns. There we go. Now it's in the middle. Right-click and choose Add Pattern. And let's see, there are lots of ways to refer to a gun, aren't there? Let's start with the obvious one, which will be gun and then an asterisk. That's going to get gun as well as guns, gunfire, anything like that. But there are other ways to refer to guns. Let's add another pattern, and maybe a firearm, F-I-R-E-A-R-M, and then an asterisk to pick up firearms and that sort of thing. And you can even refer to guns as weapons, right? Whoops, wrong thing. Add pattern, there we go. Weapons, W-E-A-P-O-N, and then an asterisk, just like that. Okay, and we could go on. I'm just mainly for illustrative purposes here, but we have firearm, gun, and weapon in the guns category. Okay, so now that we've set these up, let me show you what you can do with this. If I choose the first category, economy, which has all forms of E-C-O-N-O-M in it, I can come to report and tell Yoshikoder to apply that dictionary, the one that I have highlighted, to the current document. And if I do that, Yoshikoder counts up all occurrences of economy, economies, economics, and so forth, and tells me that there are 71 of them. And there we are. You can also do this. If you want to see those 71 occurrences, you can choose concordance and tell Yoshikoder to make a concordance, again using the highlighted dictionary and the highlighted document. And down here in the bottom pane, I get a quick look at every occurrence of the words that were found in that particular category. You can see that we have economy with a capital E, economy with a lower E. There's economic, there's economists, and so forth. You also notice get a little bit of context. You get 5 words to the left and 5 words to the right of every occurrence of a word that was found. You can even choose highlight here. And up here in the full text, Yoshikoder will show you every occurrence of the word, the economy, the words that were found in this particular search. So you have a lot of opportunities to see the words that are found in context to make sure that they really are indicating what you think they're indicating. All right, we could do the same, of course, with jobs. Let's do a report and apply that dictionary to the current document. It looks like jobs shows up 63 times. Okay, so let's stop and think about that a minute. Economy showed up 71 times, if I remember right. Jobs showed up 63 times. So now we have a problem. Does the president talk more often about the economy than about jobs, or not? If the president really meant to emphasize both of these terms with equal frequency, then it would be understandable if the proportions varied a little bit. It'd be kind of like flipping a coin. We know that in the grand scheme of things, when you flip a penny, it's going to come up heads half the time and tails the other half of the time. But in any one series of flips, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 flips, it's probably not going to be exactly 50-50. It's going to vary a little bit from 50-50 just because you're dealing with a subsample of all possible flips rather than all possible flips. So even though the president mentioned jobs less often than the economy, is that difference big enough to suggest that it's non-random, that there's something systematic going on, most likely that the president really did intend to emphasize the economy more so than jobs. Well, we can test that using a technique that you've already learned. Let me open Microsoft Excel here, and let's just start setting up a little spreadsheet. Let's type economy here and jobs here, and that's in column A. And in column B, let's record the number of occurrences of each one. We've just learned that jobs showed up 63 times, so let's type a 63 there. Economy showed up, I'm going to do this again to make sure that I got the count right. Report, apply dictionary, current document, 71 times. Okay, I do have a halfway decent memory. So economy showed up 71 times, jobs 63 times. The question is this pretty much even, or is one non-randomly larger than the other? Well, to do that, we're going to use a one-sample chi-square test. And you've already seen how to do this, but what we need is, first of all, the total number of mentions of either word. I can get that quickly by using the sum function. And so we have 134 total mentions. And then if they were exactly equal, then half of them would be mentions of the economy and half would be mentions of jobs. So I can just write a formula that takes 134 and divides it by 2. And we can do the same thing here for cell C2, 134 divided by 2. So now we have the total number of mentions of each term, economy and jobs, that we would expect to see if the president intended to mention them with exactly equal frequency. All right, so now that we've done that, we can run a chi-square test to see if there is a non-random difference between the observed values and the expected values. And you might remember how to do this. I usually give it a label right here, chi-square test, like that. Stretch it out just a little bit. And then the command is chisq.test, and then a parenthesis. And then you highlight with your mouse the actual range, what we saw in the actual sample of terms, a comma, and then the expected range, what you would expect to get if there were no non-random difference between the two. And then a right parenthesis, and hit enter. And we get a probability of 0.48, basically 49%. And so there's a 49% probability that that the difference between these two, 71 and 63, is really just random and doesn't really mean much. That's a pretty high percentage. So I think as a reporter, I would feel pretty confident saying that the president stressed the economy and jobs with equal frequency in his addresses during this time period. Now let's look at another example. We have guns as well, right? Let's go back to Yoshikoder and see how often those gun terms show up. Let me close this window. I'm going to highlight the guns category and tell Yoshikoder to give me a report. Apply dictionary to the current document. And it looks like some form of the term guns shows up 34 times. If we go back to our spreadsheet, because I did all this using formulas, I could just copy the information that I have here, paste it down below using just straight paste, and that brings down all the formulas and everything like that. So now I can change, let's leave economy as it is and change this to guns and record the number of gun mentions. What was it again? 34? There we are, 34. Okay. And so the president mentioned the economy 71 times, guns 34 times. Obviously, that's a difference. He spoke about the economy more frequently than about guns. But is it a non-random difference? The chi-square test suggests that it is. There is a far less than 0.05 probability, or less than a 5% probability, that difference could be explained by just a random process. So since it can't be explained by a random process, the next likeliest conclusion, assuming we have that our selection of these terms is valid and that these terms mean what we think they mean, things that you can check out by looking at the context, The next likeliest conclusion is that they differ for a systematic reason, that the president really did intend to emphasize the economy more so than guns. So that's one way to use Yoshikoder and statistical analysis to test themes that you find or perhaps don't find in documents.